Hi students, heredity from parent to progeny. So in the last session we discussed about different aspects. So different kinds of things we discussed regarding to Darwin and how he proposed the Darwin's theory. So Darwin, a great scientist, he said about the theory of natural selection in the process of evolution. So along with Darwin, Alfred Russel Wallace are also conducted several experiments, and these two scientists have identical thoughts. These two scientists, Wallace and Darwin, are having identical thoughts. How can we say like that? What the Darwin thought, the same the Russel Wallace are also expressed. So once the Darwin formulating the theory of evolution, at that time he received an article from Alfred Russel Wallace. So what it mentioned? So by seeing of that article, Darwin surprised, because what it is there in his mind, the same thoughts only delivered by Wallace also. So after this, those two are combinedly published an article on natural evolution, on natural evolution. So in this natural evolution, especially they wrote in a journal Linnean Society a great article. After this article only Darwin published important book, Origin of Species. So like that, a comprehensive work did by Darwin, and later the evolution, regarding to the evolution, in this class we need to discuss the remaining important areas. So in a speciation, in the formation of new species, macro and micro evolution play very important role. So in the macro evolution, new species form after a long time. So when the changes are forming gradually, after a long period of time a new organism forms. So but in a micro evolution, we will observe within less time only, in a small population you are able to see the changes in the organism. Example, the beetle's color. So like that, micro and macro evolutions both are also responsible for the formation of new species. Along with that, this one also we need to discuss, that is regarding to evidences of evolution. So evidences of evolution, evolution happened, like this only it happens, like that we need to prove with evidences. So what are those evidences? By checking of which kind of organisms we are able to come to this conclusion regarding to this evolution. So for that only, here we need to discuss about two types of evolutions. One is divergent evolution and second one is convergent evolution. Divergent evolution, convergent evolution. So in the divergent evolution, we will observe the homologous organs. By seeing of the homologous organs, we are able to come to the conclusion of divergent evolution. Like that, convergent evolution, these are the examples of analogous organs. So analogous organs and homologous organs. By the observation of these two, we are able to show some of the evidences for evolution. So what are homologous organs and what are analogous organs? Now that one only we need to discuss. So for that, first of all we need to know what are homologous organs. Homologous organs in the sense, the organisms are having different types of organs to complete different kinds of functions. So these organs in different organisms, these organs are formed in the same way. Means anatomical wise, if you observe different organisms structure, anatomically some of the organs are shows similar structure. For example, if you take a forelimbs or a hind limb or any kind of organ, different organisms forelimbs or different organisms hind limbs or different organisms different organs, anatomically they looks similar structure, means structurally those are similar, but functionally those are different. If you observe the function, organ same only, it came from same structure, it modifies from the same organ, but you are able to observe variation in their function. So how can we say like that? What are the examples for this homologous organs? So first of all, we will start with the human only, we can understand in a better manner. So four-limb part, children, that it is four-limb part. So every organism, means animals are having four limbs, F-O-U-R. In that four limbs, F-O-R-E, means which are present front side, that limb part that it is. So here I selected four different types of organisms: man, cheetah, whale and bat. Four different types of organisms. All are vertebrates. If you observed, all are vertebrates. Vertebrate in the sense, organisms which are having vertebral column. Organisms which are having vertebral column. So such a kind of four different organisms here we are selected, and see the forelimb. Structurally they are showing similarity. Structurally they are showing similarity, but once think about the function. Structurally, if you observe, all those are having similar kind of structure. Anatomically they are having similar structure. Then where there is a variation means function. Structure same one, organ same one, but they will act for different functions. What is that function? Forelimb of man used for grasping. To catch anything our hands will useful. Forelimbs are modified like hands in a human. If you observe a cheetah, it helps for running. So for fast running, these limbs are helps. And if you observe the whale, it's having the flippers for swimming. And if it is a bat, useful for flying. Modifies like wings. In a man, it modifies like hands. In a cheetah, four limbs. In a whale, it modifies as a flippers or the means whatever they used for swimming. And the bat, the forelimbs are modified as wings. So different functions we will observe in these four types of organisms, but the organ is same. It is forelimb, structurally similar but functionally different. So all are vertebrates. That means what we can understand, they are developed from the common ancestor. The ancestor of all these vertebrates are common. So slowly it is showing development. That's why different organisms here we are observed. So in the new species formation, evolution play a key role. In all these organisms also you are showing, you are observing different functions containing similar structures. Such a kind of evolution we call it as divergent evolution, and those organs we call it as homologous organs. Structurally similar but functionally different. For that only here I took one more example, children, that is plant. So thorn of bougainvillea and the tendril of cucurbita. These two are structurally same only, but they will do different functions. One helps for protection and another one helps to capture any other plant for taking support to grow. So that's why this is a different kind of homologous condition. The same plant here I am showing. So the next important evolution is convergent evolution. Convergent evolution. So in the convergent evolution, we need to discuss about analogous organs. Analogous organs. So analogous organs are the organs of different animals which have different basic structure. So they have the organs, but structurally they are different. Means they are looking very different anatomical wise, but perform same function. They'll conduct the same function, but which organs are conducting that function, that organ's structure is vary from one to another. So such a kind of organs we call it as analogous organs. So, what are the examples here we are giving for analogous organs, that is the wing of bird and the wing of butterfly. So, bird and butterfly both are used the wings for flying, but anatomically if you observe the structure how it forms, those two are very different. If you observe the butterfly, it is having a small plate like structures, it won't have any feathers and all, but the wings of bird is having feathery appearance. Okay, like that only you are able to see in the same way bird and bat. So, birds are also have the wings and bats are also. One is diurnal, one is nocturnal. But this is not the important thing here. What it is, wings. If you observe a bat wing, the bat wing is formed with skin called as patagium. In between the fingers of the bat, skin stretches. A thin skin stretches and it forms patagium. So, that is the structure of a wing in the bat. But if you observe a bird, so the total of forelimbs are completely covered with, it modifies like wing and it's totally covered with feathers. So, these two are wings only, two are helps for flying only, but structurally those two are different. So, such a way we are able to see variation in between a small insect wing and a bird wing and bat wing. All these are the examples for analogous organs, and such a kind of evolution we call it as convergent evolution. Not only in animals, even though in plants also we are able to see such a way. Potato and the root part of sweet potato. Potato and sweet potato, one is underground stem, another one is underground root. But the function is same, they used to store the food material. But what are the two structures? One is stem part and another one is root part. So, structurally those two are different, but functionally they will do the same thing. So, like this organs, we will show the variation in between different organisms and they help for evolution. Those evolution is divergent and convergent evolution with homologous and analogous organs. Now, let us see another important aspect, that it is evidences from embryology. By seeing embryo also, we are able to say evolution happens like this, like that. What is meant by embryology actually? Embryology is nothing but development of embryo from egg to adult. Development of embryo from egg to adult. So, that is called embryology. So, such a embryos onwards also we are able to observe this evolution process. It may happens like that, that we may say regarding to the embryos. So, by taking the evidences of embryos, we are able to say the evolution process. For that only here I selected this one and observe this slide on screen. So that it is different embryos of different organisms: fish, salamander, tortoise, chicken, and different what it is the human, different organisms embryos here we are showing. So, see the first stage of that embryo, children, early embryo. If we will see that embryo, you can't identify which organism's embryo that it is, because all those are looking similarly. Only embryologist able to identify which organism's embryo it is. Normal ones they can't identify. If you observe the organism, you are able to identify. But if you see the embryo, you can't identify. This will indicate all these organisms are came from common ancestor. So, see, because all embryos are looking similar. So, this is giving an evidence for this evolution. because we all came from a common ancestor. One is fish, aquatic organism. Okay, and here salamander is there, tortoise is there, chicken is there, means avians are there, mammalians are there, pisces are there, amphibians are there, all are different group organisms. But the embryos are looking similarity. If you observed a frog tadpole, you can't identify that is a frog tadpole like that, because you felt that it is fish, because it is having that much similarity with the fish. You can't identify that is frog. So all these are saying one thing only for us, what it is, we all are came from same ancestor, means common ancestor is there to all these organisms. All are vertebrates, all those are the embryos, if you observed, having very close relation. So many similarities are there in between all those. How is it possible? Because we came from the common ancestor. So in that way, these embryos are forming like an evidences to prove the evolution. And for that only here we are showing another one. Closely related species have similar embryological development. Closely related species. Here what is the close relationship in between all these? Fish, reptile, bird, human, vertebrates. All those are the vertebrates. Their habitats may different. Their structure, external features may different. But the embryological evidences are proves. These all came from common ancestor. Structures appear in the embryonic stages that serve no purpose and are not present in the adult. So what kind of feature similarities here you are seeing in the embryo that you are not observed in the adult stage. But these embryos are shows that comparison. And so that's why we are able to say these are having common ancestor like that. So through analogous organs, through homologous organs and through embryological evidences, we are able to say different aspects regarding to evolution. So next come towards to the next important segment. Fossils are also evidences. Okay, these are also reveal several secrets regarding to the ancient life and different types of organisms, their habitats and their life forms. We are able to understood that is through the fossils. That means these are also act like evidences. How so many years before, how that organism it may be, what kind of changes later we got in this organism. All these we are able to know that is through the fossils. Study of fossils we call it as paleontology. Paleontology, study of fossils, call it as paleontology. What is meant by fossil? Left behind evidences of the forms, different forms of organisms. Left behind evidences. Those organisms not present now. Once they are present, they left their evidences in the nature. So nature only preserved those evidences. Here who are preserving the evidences? Not the human. Nature only preserved the evidences. So such a kind of organisms left behind evidences, we call it as fossils. So fossils are the petrified remains of ancient objects. Ancient objects, so many years ago, these are present. Now they may present or may not be. For example, you take a dinosaur or well-known organism. We don't know how it will be, but we know very well the term, because this one we observed in several movies and all also. We are able to imagine the dinosaur, this much height, this much length it is having like that. So how is it possible? That is through this fossil only. So we collected the fossil of dinosaur, that's why nowadays we are able to imagine and we are able to say different things regarding to dinosaur. How is it possible? It's not there now. That is because of the fossil. So ancient, petrified means turned to stone. So fossil, it forms like a stone, and ancient means very old. In the olden days, the organism will be petrifies and it turns in the way of fossil, means it will solidifies like a rock, and that only nowadays we are using like a fossils. But how this fossil forms? So So here I am showing by taking one example, that is elephant. Elephant is present now, but just simply how fossils are formed. So that one only I am trying to show you. So this is an elephant. The elephant is quickly buried in the sediments from the sandstorm. Because of the sandstorm, after the death, it is quickly buried in the sand. Oh, I am going to be buried in this sandstorm. That is the internal feel of the elephant. But here you just see the upper one. Elephant is quickly buried in the sediments from the sandstorm. Okay. So later what it will happen? Layers and layers of materials build up on the top of the buried organism over millions of years. Here you must and should underline this one. Millions of years. Millions of years it will take time. In that million of years, what it is going on? Layers and layers of materials are built up on the organism's body. So organism is present below the several layers of the sand. So not only in the sand, even though if it is a water also, if it is land also, it enters into the sediments of the rocks and it will be buried inside of that sediments. So such a way the fossil, it forms minerals from layers above replace the cells, the fossil is complete. So in that process of the decomposition and all, so the minerals will replace the cells of the organism's body. So the shape we are able to get inside of the sediments. Over time, the earth's crust shift the layers. Earth is always showing some crust. No, at that time this may come upward. The layers where the fossils and erosion wears away the top layers. Soil erosion we know very well. The topmost layers of the soil come along with wind and water currents. So when it happens, when the soil is erodes, when the deep layers of the soil will come to the topmost position, at that time the fossil will expose. It will die, it will bury, and it is covered with different layers of the sand or mud, and here the minerals are replaces the cells, and so it solidifies like a rock, and when the earth crust and soil erosion happens, at that time it comes and exposes to outside. The same thing here I am showing with another example also, children. Fossil formation in the same one slide only. See, animal dies and the body sinks into the bottom of the water. The remains of the body start to rot and covered with mud. So it will covered with mud layers. Bottom also having the mud, no. Over time layers of sediments cover the bones. So all bones are covered with these mud layers. The sediments encasing the bones harden into rock. So these bones in the deeper layers hardens, solidifies and forms like rocks. As the bones slowly decay, minerals filter down into the space and replace the chemicals in the bones. So what kind of minerals are present in that deeper layers? Those will replace the chemicals of the bones. Layers of rock get worn away by wind and rain. So when it happens again, we said erosion, then these fossils will come outside. So like that fossils forms inside the terrestrial habitat, or it is a aquatic habitat. So these fossils scientists will use to know about the ancient life forms, to know about the ancient days, ancient habitats, ancient life forms. The scientists will use, and study of the fossils we call it as paleontology. So not only in a simple manner, an insect is there. So this insect enters into the mud. So the mud encloses the insect. It solidifies and hardens very fast in manner. It happens. So the mud solidifies. So that insect, what it is present inside of that mud, that impression will be present on that inner layer of the mud. So it solidifies and it forms like a rock, but the impression still present inside the rock material or the mud material. So this one only convert like a fossil. So like that fossils are helps to give such a information regarding to the ancient life. And this fossil's age we are able to know with the help of carbon dating method. Carbon dating method. In this method, the scientists will use radioisotopes like carbon, potassium and uranium. So, they will collect the fossil and they will clean it by the removing of contaminants, dirt particles and all. If it is a bone, they will break into small pieces and they will place in the weak acids. Then this bone dissolves inside that acid and then they will freeze and dries that one. So, when by using of liquid scintillation spectrometer, so how many times it will be break up, means decays, the number of breaks, number of decays they will count per a minute. So, by using liquid scintillation spectrometer by the action of radioactive isotopes, how many times the decays or happens in 1 minute of time, through the computer analysis they will analyze and they will confirm the age of the fossils. So, like that fossil age we are able to count with the help of liquid scintillation spectrometer, and we are able to know different kinds of ancient life forms with the help of these fossils. So, see here it is Archaeopteryx, one of the fossil we got, and this Archaeopteryx, if you look, it is not giving a proper characteristic features of avians, it is not a complete reptilian also. It is having both characteristic features of bird and reptile. So, it is also give the evidences, the link in between the aves and reptiles. So, one organism form onwards, the development goes into another form like that. Here we are able to observe the development by seeing of this fossil. And in Yamanapalli, we collected dinosaur fossil also. In our BM Birla Center, we exposed this dinosaur fossil. It is 14 meters long and 5 meters in length. So, such a way we are able to see different kinds of fossils, and with the fossils we are able to identify the different features of the ancient forms. Now, come towards to the human evolution. Human evolution is a macro evolution, takes lot of time, nearly 2,50,000 years before human like forms we observed, 7,50,000 years before human such a kind of features we observed 2,50,000 years before. So, such a kind of time the organism took to show the development. So, here you are seeing different stages in the human evolution: Diopithecus, Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo sapiens and modern man. So, different stages here we observed. So, Diopithecus, the organism lives between 15 million years, and Ramapithecus it lives in between 2 million years of age. So, Homo habilis, if you observe this one, this organism is lived in between 162 to 2.5 million years. Homo erectus, it's lived in between 1 to 1.8 million years of time. Homo neanderthalensis lives 1 lakh to 40 million years of time, and Homo sapiens 15,000 to 10,000 years of time. So, then only you are seeing the modern man, what it is present nowadays. So, see how many millions of years it takes time. And the ancient human means the genetical footprint of human we observed in the Africa first starting. The human race we observed in the Africa. Genetical footprints of human race we first identify in the Africa. So, there onwards only we observed this migration of humans. So, human slowly start to migrate from Africa to different areas of the world like Central Asia, East Asia, West Asia, and they are also migrate towards to the islands like Indonesia, Philippines, Australia. So, such a kind of different areas they used to migrate. They are split into groups. each and every group means started to migrate throughout the world and they settled in different areas. So that's why nowadays we are seeing in different continents these human races. So such a way human evolution we are able to observe in different stages and it takes millions of years time. So these the Diapithecus, Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, sapiens and a modern form. This all we need to write in a order wise only. These will reveal several kinds of changes, what it happens in the human evolution. How from one organism to another organism developed, what kind of features are developed, how they are showing changes, even though skin color also. So several kinds of changes we observed externally and internally. So several features we are able to see from one stage to another stage. These all are reveals several kinds of things regarding to the human evolution. So like that, different organisms are not forms in a less span of time. It takes so much of the time. Slowly variations are forms in the body and later that variations are gives evolution and there is a formation of new species. Human beings are called as moving museum. Why? Because humans are having nearly 180 vestigial organs. Vestigial organs means organs are present in the body but they are not under the function. They are not useful to the organism. That means they are not useless. They are under the development. So the organs which are under the development but still they are not showing any kind of function, such a kind of organs are called vestigial organs. In our body such a way appendix is there, epidermal hair is there, ear pinna is there and some other I am showing on the screen. All these are act like vestigial organs. Human only having 180 vestigial organs, so that's why he is called moving museum. So in this lesson up to now we discussed different things towards to the heredity children regarding to the Mendel, importance of pea plant, evolution, natural selection, survival of the fittest and fossils and how this evolution helps in the formation of new species, and these are the important and different topics regarding to the lesson heredity.